Speaking today with Mark Alley from Drexel, Missouri, and Mark is going to tell us about his rendering of a house that is once stood in Waverly, Missouri, and it was built by Mr. Jo Shelby. So, Mark, what inspired you to do this rendering?
Well, actually, I was very curious about what the house looked like from several years ago, and I've talked it over with John Hinz from Waverly, and he was quite curious too about what the house might have looked like. So we've, over the years, traded comments with each other about where the house stood, and we visited the site that we think it stood on Mount Rucker overlooking the Missouri River, and that would be on the south bank of the river. The best clues we had to go by was the fact that Jo Shelby had a house burned down on his farm in Allville in 1869, and he immediately set about building another house. There are some photographs, even though they're very, very poor and the detail is not very distinct, but John tells me that that particular house was very much like the one that was built on Mount Rucker. So we used it as a basic guideline on what the house on Mount Rucker would look like. I might say that the house on Mount Rucker was built probably in 1858, the year that Jo Shelby married Betty, or Betsy, as some call her. And Joe ran into financial problems shortly after he was married, and got overcommitted, and in fact he lost his home about the time the Civil War started, 1861. However, it probably didn't mean a lot, because within a couple of years the Redlegs came along and burned it down anyway, and they probably didn't even know that Joe no longer had title to it.
So how long had Jo Shelby been in Waverly?
Well, he went there in about 1852 or 3 from Lexington, Kentucky, and he actually waited until he was 21, because at that time he inherited $80,000 from his father, and his stepbrother, Howard Gratz, had come ahead a couple of years and invested in some a big farm near Berlin and some land there in Waverly, and they had invested in a rope factory, and with the agreement that Joe would become half owner of it when he got his inheritance from his father. So the rope walk that Howard Gratz and Jo Shelby owned lay about maybe a quarter mile upriver and to the west of this house.
Now these stairs are going down to the Missouri River?
Yes, they are.
So if a person went to Waverly today, there would be no remnant of this home?
That's true, and I've walked on the alleged site of this home, although that is somewhat open to argument as to exactly where this stood. But John Hinz has done tremendous research and has lived in Waverly, and the consensus of the historians that he's associated with believe that the place that they point out is the place where the house stood. And I've walked over that, and there's absolutely no evidence that a house ever stood there. Now, if you would get a shovel and dig down, you might run across some under the surface foundations that would reveal something. And I do understand that there's been a little bit of archaeology done in the area, but no conclusions from it.
And what is your interest in the Jo Shelby family story? Why are you so interested in that?
Well, Jo Shelby was a very interesting fellow, and he was quite a horseman. And I've always been interested in the cavalry and the horse soldier. And beside our home there in Drexel is only about 12 miles to the northwest of Jo Shelby's final home, and in fact the place where he died in 1897.
And I know you've done a model of that home,
I have.
the one down in Bates County.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, we thank you for all your hard work and interest in doing this. I think you're the only one that could probably pull it together. You have the right skill set to do it, and we thanks a lot. Thank you for it.
You're welcome.